In today's episode, you'll learn how to make delicious kosher Moroccan spiced meatballs with Orzo using Prairie Street Prime's ground beef brisket blend and these fresh ingredients.
I'm very excited. Those are really good. Yum. Welcome to Prairie Street Prime's Culinary Kitchen. I'm Chef Erica, and today I'm excited to make a recipe for you using our premium ground beef brisket blend. I'm gonna make a delicious Moroccan spiced meatball recipe, and I'm going to use our ground brisket to make it. You can also make this recipe using lamb, or you could do it with a combo of meats. Anything really works for this. Now, what makes these so delicious is this combination of seasonings that I'm putting in it. I'm going to be adding dried spices like cumin and coriander and fennel, but I'm also adding some raisins. You can use little currants, you can use black raisins, golden raisins. The raisins add a really nice little bit of sweetness and they add a lot of moisture. They're a really good addition to a meatball. I'm also gonna be adding a lot of fresh mint to it. So they're gonna have a really nice, really unique flavor. And I'll be serving these meatballs with an herby yogurt sauce also. So I love that combination. Now in this sauce, I'm using vegan, non-dairy, kosher yogurt. And there are a lot of options for that now. You could use a cashew yogurt, you could use a coconut yogurt, whatever one you really like, that's what you should use for this. So let's get started with this one. So what I've done here is actually, I've smashed garlic with salt and I made it into a little paste. I actually did this a while ago in another video. You can check that out on our Prairie Street Prime YouTube channel also. So I'm gonna put my smashed garlic into my bowl. You basically just bash garlic up with a lot of salt. It kind of softens up the rough edges of your garlic basically. And I'm of course adding my meat. So in goes my delicious ground brisket. Then we're gonna add a lot of our spices to this. So this is some whole fennel seed. This is one of my favorite spices. You can use it whole, you could use it ground. I like to bite into those little pings, those little pops of whole fennel seed. So I'm gonna add my fennel seed. I have some ground cumin. I have some ground coriander. I love my spices. Have you noticed that? I'm also adding a little bit of red pepper flakes, or if you have something like an Aleppo chili flake, you can add those. And if you're not a fan of heat, just leave them out. But it's just a tiny bit, just to give it a little bit of fire. Now, here are my raisins. So these are black raisins, and I soaked them in a little bit of wine. It's important that you soak the fruit before you put it in, because then it plumps up. And what happens then is that the fruit doesn't pull moisture from the meat. Instead, the moisture in the fruit adds moisture to the finished product. Now, if you don't want to use wine, you can just soak them in a little bit of water too. But since I used the wine, it's all going right in there. If you soak them in water, just drain them, leave out the water. A nice handful of mint. You could also do this with cilantro, you could use basil, you could use parsley, you could use a combination of all of them. And then there is one egg that goes in here, and that one egg acts as a binder. It helps to hold the whole thing together. And there was salt in my garlic paste, but I'm also gonna add just another little pinch of salt to this, and then a little bit of black pepper. Now, I'm gonna get in there with my hands and mix this up because I feel like that's really the only way to get this right, is to do it with your hands. But you wanna be gentle. You're not kneading bread dough here. We don't wanna get this really stretchy and chewy. We wanna be gentle. So all we wanna do is get this well mixed. Make sure all those spices are mixed in. Make sure that egg is really incorporated, but then stop. Don't go crazy with this. Sometimes when I'm teaching, and I'm teaching people to do this, they love to really get in there and really work it, but you know, sometimes you just have to be really gentle in the kitchen. So I'm gonna go ahead and start forming this into my meatballs. So I'm gonna make them into about 2.5 inches, something like that. You don't wanna go too big because then it'll take too long for them to cook and they'll get overcooked on the outside before the inside is done. So just like that. Okay, so there we go. That's enough. So let's get these meatballs browned off now. Now into my pan, I'm going to add some olive oil. I really like to saute in olive oil. It adds a lot of flavor. I'm not gonna go over super high heat, so I can use the olive oil. It won't get too smoky. And then I'm gonna just start adding my meatballs to my pan. So once I start to see a little bit of browning, I'm gonna turn them over, try to get them as brown as we can all around. Then I'm gonna put the lid on and lower my heat and just kind of almost braise them in their own juices in there. And it won't take long. These are small. Once we're fully brown, we'll give them about 10 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to drop my orzo in the pan. So I have a pot of boiling water, and I've added some salt to that. Whenever you cook pasta, you have to salt your water. It's just how it is. So I added a decent amount, about a tablespoon of salt. I'm just making a little bit of orzo in that pot, and I'm gonna pour in my orzo. And orzo cooks fast. It's a tiny, tiny little pasta. We'll probably give that about 6 or 7 minutes, and then I'll taste it. Okay, let's check these. Yeah, there we go. So we're getting some browning, and they're gonna be kind of fragile at first, so be delicate. Part of why this meat is fragile and so soft is because this is an incredibly rich blend of meat made from the highest quality meat. So it's not gonna be tough, it's not gonna be chewy, it's not gonna be tight, it's gonna be like a velvety meatball. And I just wanna go a little browner. There we go, perfect. And now I'm just gonna put the lid on, and we're gonna give them about 8 to 10 minutes. And I'm also going to lower the heat when I put the lid on here. So I'm gonna strain my orzo now because it's done. It's al dente, which is how I like it, which means it's not mushy, but it's cooked. Those meatballs smell incredible, by the way. Okay, so my meatballs only have a couple minutes left. My orzo is drained. Now this sauce, really quick, really easy. Garlic paste, it is one of my favorite ingredients. It's one of my favorite ways to incorporate garlic into my food. I'm also going to add to this some turmeric, one of my favorite spices, also very good for you. And it adds such beautiful color to your food that I love to use it in sauces like this. So what I'm using in here for this sauce is a vegan, non-dairy, kosher coconut yogurt. Make sure you buy unsweetened and unflavored, just plain. You want it to be a neutral base. Then I'm going to add some herbs. This is a combination of parsley, cilantro, and dill, because that's what I have and that's what I really like. Just kind of fold those in. And then just a little bit of lemon juice at the end. I like to just squeeze right in. I use my hand as a little strainer in case I have any seeds, like that. Get that stirred up, and we're good to go. This is a really fast recipe. I mean, I did all of this and, took no time. Okay, so let's check those meatballs. So you always want to make sure when you're using ground beef that you cook it all the way. The recommended temperature is 160 for ground meat. So you can use a thermometer and just slide it right into one of your meatballs. And what we're looking for is 160. So there we go. We hit it and we are good. Okay, so I'm gonna put some orzo on my plate here. Just a little bed of orzo. You could toss this with some olive oil if you wanted to. You could add other seasonings. I'm just leaving it plain because the meatballs are so flavorful. And then let's get a couple of these meatballs right onto my bed of orzo. So just like that. There's my 3. And then we'll just take some of our beautiful yogurt sauce with turmeric and the garlic paste and the herbs. And I'll just put a little bit on each one, like that. So the sauce is on, and I always like to finish my dishes with something fresh, a fresh herb, a fresh garnish. So let's do a little, what we would call a pluche, a little bundle of mint right there in the middle. And voila. How quick was that? Boy, you could throw that together on a weeknight really easily. So it's time to taste. Now, I love meatballs of any form. I've never said no to a meatball that crossed my path, and I'm really excited about these meatballs because these are made from such super high quality meat, and these have got like all my favorite stuff in them. Herbs and mint and raisins and spices. I'm very excited. Those are really good. Yum. You can really taste the spices that are in there, the cumin, the coriander, the herbiness. There's that little sweetness from the raisin. And remember that these are made with Prairie Street Prime, super high quality brisket blend ground beef. So we're using the best quality meat. It has a great fat content to it, so that adds a lot of moisture and a lot of juiciness. And that's gonna give you a really high quality meatball or burger or meatloaf or sauce or whatever you wanna make with it. It's a great versatile product that uses an incredibly high quality ingredient.
Coming up next on the Prairie Street Prime Culinary Kitchen channel, Chef Kendra will show us how to make her delicious kosher prime rib sous vide.
Oh, just cut so perfectly. Do I even need to chew? Barely.
I hope that you're a meatball lover like I am and that you'll try making these with our recipe. You can find all the details, the ingredients, the recipe right below. And remember that every Sunday we post brand new video content. So we have a new recipe for you every week. So make sure you check back in Sundays at 2 o'clock for new content from our Prairie Street Prime Culinary Kitchen. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Chef Erica, and I hope that you will try out some of our Prairie Street Prime Culinary Kitchen's recipes and try some of our great meat products. Prairie Street Prime, your luxury kosher meat experience.